Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to What's Map, your one-stop shop for everything workshop. I'm BonBonB and you're very, very welcome. Well, today we have got a real treat. For me, not for you, for me. You see that big old hunk of rock there on the right hand side of the screen, separated from the mainland? Yep, that is the biggest bonbon island I have ever seen. I claim it, it is mine. I like it. The rest of the map, it's okay in places. It needs some work in places, which is fair enough when you consider that.
It's my first map.
That's right. We'll talk about the bits that need improving, but it's still playable, and playable is the key. But before we do any playing, I've got a daily reminder for you. That's right, clicking that like button really does support the channel, gets me seen by more people and helps me grow a little bit more every single day. Thank you for your support. Today's map is Arcadia by BMS Stormseeker. Storms, what a great name, Storms. Not sure what the BMS is, but I do like the Stormseeker bit. Let's have a little look at the start square. Well, that is pretty standard. I can't really say much more than that. You can't argue with that one. It's solid, rock solid. There's your start square. We've seen the start square. There's your terrain heights. Buildable area in the middle. Help me. And there you got your resources. Look, just like that. Big old ink stain for the oil. Right, what ink is made out of oil, isn't it? More or less. Am I wrong? Probably. Then you've got the fishing. If you've got Sunset Harbour, then that looks like that. Off to the workshop. What do we need? No DLC today, which is good for those of you with no DLC. We've got the surface rock pack. We've got some pine trees. We've got the Montebello theme, and we'll be using the Relight Cool LUT. If you don't have Relight, definitely get it. It's got some of the best LUTs, definitely. Okay, off to a little fly through now. First map. So standards on networking. Yeah, it's fairly weak. It's fairly weak, and the magic isn't in the networking. The magic is in some of the terrain. I tell you, some of the terrain on this map is really very lovely indeed. But yeah, highways will be spotting jinky jankies, a little bit of drifting. We'll have elevated sections where maybe it could have stayed at ground level, or embankments. There's so many minor things that you or I would, as experienced players, would change. On the first map, though, this is pretty solid. Except for where it gets a bit jinky-janky and a bit loose. But, yeah, they're fine. We even have 3, maybe 4. I think it's just 3. Trying to remember now. Oh, hang on. Bridge. Now, this is a nice attempt at a feature area, okay? We've got a well-structured, well-positioned bridge there. Behind it, a fantasy map waterfall. Okay, so this is half a fantasy map, halfway there. Okay, yeah, there's your jinky janky there. It's your first one that we spotted, and the roads, they just drift apart, and there's a little bit of lack of control over them. Looks like they were built fairly hurriedly. I think that's fair to say. They were probably built fairly hurriedly, which is a shame because the map deserves a little bit more than this. Our first intersection, a dropped in wishbone there, and I've no problems with that really. It'll do the job. And then we'll just carry on. Look at the hills in the background. The mountains in the background are they're just lovely actually. It's a good mixture, a good set of shapes, totally believable, all of them as well. And the highway, it's hugging the base of the mountains, giving us all of that flat build space off to the right to actually start working into. Which again, I can't fault that. I mean, maybe it'd be nice to have a little space on the side here between us and the mountain, but it's not necessarily critical, is it? And you're probably going to be, moving them, maybe rebuilding them, probably using Move It if you're a modder, and just tidying up the highways, because I think it deserves it. Here we go. Here's an elevated section that it just looks a little bit untidy here. That could have stayed as an embankment across there, or better still, if we could have brought them down to the same level, or have them as tiered highways a little bit closer together. There were so many options that could make this a little bit better. Now here we've got rail over road. It's a little bit high, it's a little bit wonky. We've got jinky janky underneath there as well. And we've got a bridge section here, and ideally a bridge section there would be better, I feel. If you're going to have a bridge section on one side, probably have it on both. Consistency. It's consistency. It's not something I'm going to break my face over. I'm not walking into a wall, slamming my head into brickwork or anything over it. It's not the worst thing, and it's very quick and easy to fix. So it's there if you want it. It's there if you want it. Now, next bridge is a little bit of a problem for me. Not a huge problem. It's just got a little bit of a droop effect in it. First of all, don't mind the shape of it. The way it bends off at the beginning. But we've got one side which is notably higher than the other side. And I don't think physics would like that too much on the suspension bridge. So, just... oh, it's always physics. I blame, was it not Newton? Einstein. I blame Einstein. It'd be fine if it wasn't for Einstein. Anyway, intersections, I don't mind. In fact, it's a bit wonky and a bit off centre. That is fine by me. And we're in the start square, which means we can pull up and then zoom back in. Because zooming in, we have got one of these. It's another newish creator. I think they said in the description this was their second asset on the workshop. It's the Zenville Residence by Comrade Intense, or Comrade Intense. If you're using Find It, search for the word Intense, because Zenville and Residence won't help you too much. Lovely little asset, really like it, and it's time for Factoids, because Factoids. Okay, the Formula 1 driver, Jackie Stewart, was born on this day in the 11th of June. I should say this in case it's not the 11th of June when you're watching. In 1939. Not only has he won 3 motor racing world championships, but he's also been the British clay pigeon shooter champion. Oh my goodness, the words are completely in the wrong order. I'll try again. He's also been British champion clay pigeon shooter on no fewer than 5 occasions. See, I can get the words out. Zenville Residence by a Comrade Intense. There's asset of the day. Right, back to the slightly quirky highway. It's just untidy. I think there's the politest word we can use for it. We have seen worse. We've seen worse quite recently. Biggest problem with highways is actually this intersection, though. Look at this intersection. It's very slick and tidy, and the traffic is moving along. But what if we wanted to go off in that direction? Or better still, with this road actually does head off to the fog. What if you're driving in from this direction and want to get into the start square? Well, you'd have to head down to the next intersection. So we're heading down to the next intersection. The next intersection doesn't have a loop back on it. What it has is access to the build plane. So any traffic coming from the far side over there will then go into the build plane and have to drive through the city to get to the start square area, which could cause you some traffic issues. So a few extra lane connectors on that intersection, which is very slick and tidy for a first map, for a new creator. That's not a bad intersection. We just need a couple of extra connections, so everything's fine. Again, the highways here, they could be just a little bit closer together. There are mods for this, the parallel road tool, or you could just take your time. Go node by node by node. That's what I did. So, anybody watch the making of Merrickstowe? Goodness me, node by node by node. I took forever on that, and it's still not brilliant. That was my first map, though. Anyway, what have we got here? We have got rail, right, a little bit up and down. We are out of the 25 tiles, and 25 tiles is not a required mod for this one, so I guess this doesn't matter. Although, to be honest with you, this canyon I don't really believe in at all, and it can be seen from the 25 tiles, so I'm not really a huge fan of this rail route at all. Maybe if we brought it along the coast road, possibly, or found a route through the mountains which was slightly more believable. But it's not going to break the game, is it? It's not going to break the game. Here it's fine. And to find credit to say it doesn't actually have any encroaching trees. It doesn't have any... well, we did a bit of an up and over there. Never mind. Maybe it's not all that after all. I'll be back after this intermission with the shipping.
Are you struggling with water physics in the game? Are you constantly drowning and flooding your soggy little sins? Then you need the Beginner's Guide to Water Physics by BonBonB. Click the information button now.
And do we have shipping routes at Arcadia by BMS Stormseeker? Well, we do. We have all of the shipping routes. A bit of a sharp turn potential there, but when I say we have all of the shipping routes, you're going to spy so many shipping lines going on here. A nice little harbour. I mean, it's fine. It covers everywhere you want to go. I just think that there's a few unnecessary ones. It could be cleaned up. It could be cleaned up. It could be tidied up. But it's not horrific. It's not like we can't get any ships where we want them to. It's just not the most efficient. Water flow. Now this is efficient. We have strong water flow going through the start square, which will please all of you that want to have strong water flow going through the start square. In terms of realism, well, we kind of already said it's a fantasy map because we have a bit of a divergence there in the water, and then that feeds out through two different routes into the sea, which is tidy, I guess. Okay, so what about the map as a whole? Well, first of all, you've got the mountains adding backdrop. We've got an interesting shape. It could be more interesting with the river. We'll look at that in a moment. And a flat build plane in the middle is quite nice for a big build. It's not entirely flat, mind you. It looks tiered. You can see that it's slightly tiered there as well. So you can have like a slightly tiered city centre. But this is for me. This is the pièce de résistance. This whole island is, it's too big for a bonbon island, but I still claim it. Some good beaches on it. Well, actually not good beaches. Some great beaches on it. Very happy with those. I like the tiering. I like the tree placement. I like the mountain. And you know what? In terms of mountains, volcanoes. That's the word I'm looking for. In terms of volcanoes, I don't think I've seen a better one than this. I might have seen some equal ones to this, but credit for that one. I really absolutely piggin' love this. Even the inside there, I can buy into that. That is really a very lovely work. If we head down here, we've got a little peninsula over here with this little castle on the top there, and then we have can you see it? The essential lighthouse, and ooh, it's a castle, and it's a jetty. And if you have a look closely at the bottom of the jetty, you can see, I don't know how we got here, an abandoned truck. Now that forced me to draw right in, and it's only when I drew right in I noticed that the jetty wasn't clipped particularly well in with the coastline, which I thought it was at first. So that abandoned truck has probably cost it half a mark on detailing. I wish it hadn't been there, because I would have just flown right past that going, that's really good work. We have got a little fantasy waterfall there. I don't have a problem with that. I guess it is sort of a fantasy map, kind of. And then we've got some great mountains. Some really, you can actually build into these mountains as well in various locations. I'm not happy with, if you have right back here, you can see this cutting where the rail comes in. And honestly, I just wouldn't have the rail here. Probably, rather than having the rail coming through there, I'd rather have seen a river. And we'll talk about rivers very shortly, because you have a look at the river is okay. I'd just like to see it going through the middle of the build plane rather than skirting around the edges here. This lake looks a little bit half filled, and I'm going to do a little bit of a skip in a moment where I've done a little bit of work raising the exit here, just to sort of like give it a slightly higher. So there you go. See, it's raised up a little bit. I've got some rapids in there as well. You can't quite make them out. It took me a few seconds to do, and then about an hour for it to sort its levels out. And the water isn't entirely sorted yet. But what I would have done, you see, I think if I was to take this map on, I'd have over here, I'd have a lake in this area over here, feeding out down that kind of ravine into the start square kind of area over there. This other one, that one's fine in the middle. I'd have a lake up here in the top right as well, feeding down this way, roughly into where it is there, and into the start square again. Lose that completely. block that off completely, have that as completely landlocked. And then with the river coming from the left, the river coming from the right, and the river coming from the middle, have them all connect up and have it wind down to a big old river delta at this location. I think that would make this map a whole lot more interesting. I mean, we're talking about... oops, sorry about that. We're talking about like high level map making here, and I would struggle to do it well, but that's what I would do. And as a first map, I wouldn't expect that sort of standard out of this particular map. But I just feel that, yeah, don't worry about the water lacking here. That's me. That was me messing around with the water physics and putting in the rapids, which we're not going to look at again because they weren't great. Anyway, your chance to vote on this map. Is it a 1-star map? Is it a 5-star map? Is it somewhere in between? Your vote really does count. We use it at the end of the month for the Viewers' Choice Top 10. Will this be one of the top 10 maps of the month? Only you can decide. You can vote by clicking on the little I button in the top right hand corner of your screen now. It'll take you across to Patreon, where you can sign in with your Facebook, a Gmail, this YouTube account, or even a free Patreon account. It's free to vote, and it'd be great to see your vote over there as well. Right, okay, so what do I think of this map? Aesthetically, it's okay on the whole. There are 1 or 2 bits that I really like, and the bad bits are mostly about the detailing. I'm gonna go for a low 4. I think it deserves a 4th star. The good bits are worth that 4th star. Detailing, it's a bit scrappy in places, but there are a few areas that I really quite like. I don't think we are dropping down to 2 stars because the good bits hold it up a little bit. It's a low 3 for detail. Gameplay potential. Look, it's playable, alright? It's playable. I think there could be some traffic problems. Obviously, we've spoken about that intersection. But I think we can go for a medium-ish 3, low to medium 3 for gameplay. Arcadia by BMS Stormseeker, that's a solid map. And for a first map, that is a very good effort. Okay, I'm saying it. It's a very, very good effort. I really like that volcano. That is a bonbon island to behold. It's mine, I tell you. Stand clear. But also stand closer, because you are now in the 20 and out elite club. Head on over to the comments, use the word, that word there in the comments, and then you too can add yourself 100 population points, which you have to keep track of. And remember, don't talk about this in the comments, because this is our little secret club. Thanks for watching.